What is up? We are wrestling maniacs out there worldwide. It's the best one, Donnie here, with my co-host, my tag team partner,
Chaz Smith, baby. What's up? We are wrestling fans. Welcome to We Are Wrestling!
That's right,
Woo!
guys. This has been a while since me and Chaz have done We Are Wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
And now, obviously, we have our own YouTube page because we really want to expand the We Are Wrestling content out there.
Oh, yes.
It was just, too good for Best One Network. With Best One Network, we still do lots of videos over there, different varieties of content that's not wrestling related. So if you're looking for another awesome channel, I definitely recommend you to go check out Best One Network. But here on We Are Wrestling, this gives us no restrictions. We get to do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
We get to talk about whatever the fuck we want. And there's just no restrictions
Wrestling,
at all.
wrestling,
Wrestling,
baby.
wrestling. That's all we're going to be giving you guys here on this YouTube page is wrestling content.
Yes, baby.
But, you already know, if you're not a Best One yet, and you are a We Are Wrestling maniac like Chaz and I, you better smash and hit that subscribe button now. Turn on the post notifications, be alert when videos are coming out of nowhere, just like an RKO. Because there's going to be lots of videos going up on this page. Like, I'm talking, you're going to be getting lots of freaking videos at a time. You can have 5 videos in one day and maybe have a couple videos, maybe 3 days later. So you have to hit that freaking post notification. But,
Definitely.
you already know, guys, the grind is about to be real.
Hell yeah.
But, today we're going to make a special video here before we talk about other stuff. We want to talk about somebody that passed away, a wrestling icon, a wrestling legend, Hall of Famer, Pat Patterson. We want to make this special video in honor of him and kind of just like what we've seen from Pat Patterson, and like we want to just make a reflecting video because there would not be a Royal Rumble without this man right here, Pat Patterson.
Absolutely.
The Attitude Era, like, it wouldn't have been the same without Pat Patterson.
This man...
The man was around for decades. I'm talking, he ran, what, the 70s, 80s, 90s, even the Ruthless Aggression.
I mean, this man was around in the 60s wrestling as in a tag team. I mean, he was the first ever IC champion. And that's why we got this beautiful... my favorite championship ever right here, baby.
That's right, guys.
I mean, although the funny story behind that, as a lot of you the hardcore fans know, that the true story behind the IC championship tournament that Pat Patterson won was actually a kayfabe, was a fake tournament, taking place in Rio de Janeiro. But he took 2 titles, melded them together, and it became the Intercontinental Championship. But this man was the greatest mind, and top 3 greatest minds in wrestling history. And that's not even a debate. I mean, that's just, I don't care what anybody says. That is just fact.
Okay, and also I want to say, too, him being the first IC champion... Also, he was the first IC champion, so he made this Intercontinental Champion very, very prestigious. And this went to the hardest worker in the professional wrestling.
That's what the IC belt was, yeah.
It was for the guys that didn't get the respect that they deserved. And Pat Patterson carved that way.
Yeah.
But,
guys like Greg the Hammer Valentine, Tito Santana... my absolute number 1 favorite wrestler of all time, Randy the Macho Man Savage, Honky Tonk Man, And
let me talk about some of the new era people with the Intercontinental Champion. Because some of these guys, that was their first champion. Chris Jericho, Randy Orton, Christian, Edge, lots of freaking future Hall of Famers.
Amen. Yeah.
And Pat Patterson was the first Intercontinental Champion.
Yep.
But now, from like my childhood, because obviously I didn't see Pat Patterson wrestle, It's way past my time. I'm a younger fan.
Me too. Oh.
I am a younger fan, and when I first saw Pat Patterson, it was the Attitude Era, which obviously this figure represents the Attitude Era as one of Vince McMahon's stooges. And one thing I always remember is just him and Gerald Briscoe, which he's up here, just always, being the stooges, always messing up, trying to get rid of Austin, but Austin would come and stunner the hell out of this man.
When he came out, the Hulk Hogan's, when he came out, the Real American, when they were...
And the Hardcore Championship, too. Their match with the Hardcore Championship was also very funny.
That was great.
And they definitely brought smiles to my face as a child.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I will say, one of my favorite freaking pay-per-views / matches is the Royal Rumble.
Oh.
And this was all Pat Patterson's idea, not Vince McMahon's.
No. And Vince McMahon, believe it or not, for those of you who don't know, Vince McMahon actually, when Pat Patterson gave this idea to Vince McMahon, when he brought that up to Vince McMahon, he didn't want... Vince McMahon was like... oh, that's crazy. That'll never work. And so it actually was something they tried out in house shows.
Yep, it was a house show.
Yeah, it was a house.
I did read something on that.
Yeah, and it was like, so they tried it out. At first, it was unsuccessful, and so they tried it out into more and more, and now look at the freaking success of it. It's amazing.
And now it's like a pay-per-view that everybody looks forward to.
Yeah.
The crowd, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you don't know who the hell's coming out. Like, even with today's technology and today's, online spoilers, which, in my opinion, does ruin professional wrestling.
Yeah.
The Royal Rumble, they don't have any of that leaked. You don't know who's going to come out. You might find out, that, DDP came to the arena, so you might get a DDP, but you don't know when he's going to come out.
Right.
So it's always going to be that nostalgic surprise within the wrestlers. Even returns from injuries. The Royal Rumble is just such a special match. And this was all because of this man right here, Pat Patterson.
He was incredible. Incredible.
And one thing, too, I will say about Pat Patterson, too, which I actually got to really know a lot more about Pat Patterson, was actually from the WWE Network, $9.99. Gotta plug it. Hopefully they sponsor me someday. But, I learned a lot about Pat Patterson from the documentary. They had a reality show series on the WWE Legends House.
Oh, so good.
And this is when Pat Patterson actually came out gay. He announced that he was gay, and he really, he was one of my favorites on the Legends House. Him and Rowdy Piper, their conversations and stuff. And also he even, sang as well, which I thought was really beautiful.
Him and Mean Gene sneaking out of the house, going out and getting drunk at karaoke with the lady. That was incredible.
Yeah. But man, I can tell you, Pat Patterson can also sing too. I will say, it's amazing what this man has done for the wrestling business, and there wouldn't be a We Are Wrestling. There wouldn't be wrestling. Wrestling wouldn't have reached its highest point if it wasn't for guys that were behind the scenes like Pat Patterson, who brought his knowledge into other wrestlers and made other wrestlers become the best versions of themselves in the ring.
He's trained. He helped Shawn Michaels. He helped a lot of the guys that you watch today on Raw and SmackDown.
And he would always be backstage, always giving notes to these guys, and he would always give them his knowledge and what he knew in the wrestling business. And that is something that you cannot teach, because guys like Pat, who have been there for decades, know what wrestling needs, what wrestling wants, and it's just amazing to see everything this man has done. Even after his wrestling career, the fact that every little kids out there know who this guy is, and they're way past their time. And the fact that Pat Patterson still always made himself relevant, and he always put WWE first before anything else. Right there, that just shows you the type of man he is and why his legacy will always be remembered.
Absolutely. And I feel bad for Vince McMahon. That was his right hand, Gerald Briscoe especially, because they were
Botch.
Wow. anyways, it was a botch. And actually, one of the men he was closest to, believe it or not, one of his absolute right hand, one of the guys that was his students, that I know was Bruce Pritchard, the great Bruce Pritchard, who is AKA Brother Love, who you go and listen to on Something to Wrestle with.
I got mixed thoughts
podcast.
about Bruce, but this is about Pat Patterson.
Yeah. Anyway, I love Bruce anyways, but you know, he just the fact, my point is just the fact that he taught. So he just lent his knowledge, just spread out to so many different eras and so many different genres.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it wasn't just like one group of individual, you know, it just, man.
And his stories are just so inspiring too. And like, I wish I had the opportunity to meet Pat Patterson.
Yeah.
I never got to. I wish I had the opportunity to, but I will say, like, man, Pat Patterson, thank you.
Thank you, Pat,
for everything you've done. And the wrestling business is gonna definitely dearly miss you because. But one good thing I will say, though, about, like, you know, like him really spreading his knowledge is that now guys like Shawn Michaels, guys like Zack Ryder, guys that have been around getting the knowledge from Pat Patterson now have his knowledge and can teach future wrestlers.
Yeah.
And it's all, like, if you look back, it's going to all go right back to Pat Patterson.
It'll continue. It'll go round and round.
And Royal Rumble ain't going anywhere.
No. Hell no.
Which I really hope that this year, with the Royal Rumble coming up in 2021, I really hope they do something for Pat Patterson. Oh. They need to. For
I don't see that they wouldn't.
Some type of tribute or something before the Rumble match, because you got to realize this man created the Rumble. And I think Vince will do something for that.
Yeah.
Vince will definitely. But now your final thoughts on Pat Patterson.
Just it was a shock. Even though he was, you know, getting up there in age, it was still a shock to me. He was still so involved. He was still so, you know, it wasn't like a guy that was not around, you know, it was like a guy that was just, you know,
any chance he got to be backstage, he would be backstage.
He was there, you know, and even when he wasn't there, he was still, you know, calling in ideas, and, you know, and Vince was still in touch with him, and he was still giving his...
And he always never stabbed Vince in the back.
No.
Either. He was always WWE for life.
Yeah, and I mean...
And that's hard with all the things that go on in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, God, just thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat, for not only being such an incredible part of my childhood, in creating some of the best memories and storylines of my childhood, but creating my favorite championship in wrestling history, the Intercontinental title, and making it so relevant still to this day. And I'm glad that it's becoming back to what it used to be for the working man.
I agree. And my final thoughts on Pat Patterson, rest in peace. Obviously, my thoughts and prayers go out to all Pat's friends, family, WWE,
Sure.
and just all the professional wrestlers out there that got the chance to learn and got to know Pat Patterson. I wish I had the opportunity to meet the guy, but I'm very grateful that he created one of my favorite matches, the Royal Rumble. I'm very grateful that he's given everything he's had to WWE and always put WWE before himself. And the fact that he spreaded his knowledge to lots of these young guys and continuing to really teach wrestling, the fundamentals of wrestling and what you need to do.
Yes.
And Pat Patterson is the pioneer of that, and he's always going to be remembered. And the reason why I wanted to make this one of our first videos sitting down, even though we're a little late, is because Pat Patterson, there wouldn't be a We Are Wrestling without Pat Patterson. We wouldn't be talking about wrestling if it wasn't for guys like Pat Patterson.
No.
And this is why we wanted to make this special tribute video in honor of the late, great Pat Patterson.
Amen. Absolutely. And rest in peace, Pat.
Rest in peace, Pat.
to his family and to the McMahons and Gerald Briscoe. We love you, Pat. Thank you for everything.
And at least we have a lot of memories as well that we all get to look back at from Pat Patterson, from like documentaries that WWE Network drops, also YouTube videos, Attitude Era. He did a lot of comedy and funny stuff, really bringing out his real personality into the Stooge character. And it's just amazing, like, everything this guy has done for this business.
If you don't know, if you haven't watched, if you don't know a lot about Pat Patterson, go on WWE Network or go on YouTube and check out some of his stuff. And I highly recommend it, personally.
It's great.
It's amazing.